Good evening. This is the time and place for the City of St. Helena Planning Commission regular meeting on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Commissioner Lopez, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. This is the time for any public forum. This is an opportunity for the public to address the Commission on items of interest to the public that are not listed on the agenda. Because of restrictions imposed by the Brown Act, the Commission may not engage in discussion nor take action on matters not described on the agenda. Please observe the time limit of 4 minutes. Do I see anyone here for public forum?
Through the chair,
Yes.
did you wish to take roll call?
Yes, I'm sorry. Let's take the roll call. Get everybody on the roll call first. Thank you.
Commissioner Covell.
Here. Sorry, Commissioner Covell.
Here.
Commissioner Anderson.
Here.
Commissioner Lopez.
Here.
Chair Warner.
Here.
And I'd like to point out that Vice Chair Furtick is absent from this
Very
evening's
good.
meeting.
So again, this is a public forum. I think I've repeated the framework for a public forum. I don't see anyone here for public forum. Seeing no one here, we can move on to our consent items. We only have one consent item, which we can approve by consent, or if we want to open it up for discussion, we can do that. These are the minutes of the May 5th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting. What are the commissioners' druthers for this? If, okay, well, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Covell.
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez.
Yes.
Chair Warner.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We have a couple public hearings items tonight. Why don't we go to 5.1?
Thank you, Chair Lisa Mikhail, Director of Planning, Community Development. We have with us the Director of Public Works, Joe Leach, who's going to present the capital improvement plan and the Commission's requested review of the CIP, capital improvement plan, in conformance with the general plan. I'll hand it over.
Thank you, Director McCall. Joe Leach, Assistant City Manager and Director of Public Works, as well as City Engineer. The item before you this evening, I don't really want to minimize, but it's relatively routine. I think for a few of the commissioners, you've seen this agenda item maybe 3 years in a row now. But it's the annual update of bringing to the Planning Commission the capital improvement program that we do update annually. It's a 5-year program that details projects and a projected schedule for both funding or documenting unfunding, but as well as delivery. And so per the government code, you have been tasked this evening to review this list of our comprehensive capital improvement program and see and to confirm that they are in conformance with the general plan policies. As a reminder, what the template that you've seen, the matrix that you have, the items that are not highlighted are actions that have been taken by prior planning commissions. The items that are highlighted, the yellow highlighted items, are new items to the capital improvement program this year. And then, excuse me, on the far right of the matrix, there's a project update that kind of just gives you a really cursory view of, high-level view of kind of where that particular project is in the schedule for delivery. And so your action this evening is recommending the, the recommendation this evening is to adopt the resolution, and there's a number of bullet items in the resolution that are under your purview, and really it's reviewing it from the conformance of general plan. And we did have a lengthy discussion with Commissioner Lou Covell this afternoon. I think it was very productive. I appreciated your thoughtfulness and just really kind of struggling with the commission's, your role as a commissioner. You can provide, the comment that you'd like to make, but I think we are open to any suggestion commissioners may want to make on the resolution itself to help with clarity, framework in which the action that you're taking. And with that, I'll field any questions you might have.
Thank you again. Our process here is for clarification, and then we can have discussion. I do have some clarification questions, but I'd like to open it up to my fellow commissioners for any clarification or questions to staff at this point.
I had a bunch of clarification questions that I reviewed with Lisa and Joe earlier today. I don't know if that's what you want me to go over today again or now, or was it enough just in our meeting?
Through the chair, I think it was fine through our meeting. If there's anything that's still outstanding for you that you wish to present in the public forum, you can do so.
I think, you know, I do have a list. I don't know if you want to go first, Chair, or I don't know.
Yeah, why don't I do this? I may be on the same page with you, but let's just kind of talk about the process here. I wanted to ask, in the column that states general plan policy and goals, for those projects that have already been approved as a prior CIP, I'm assuming that the Planning Commission, in its review of those projects when they came before the Planning Commission already approved them as in conformance to the general plan, and there's no change in those general plan policy and goals listed in those columns. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So in terms of conformity to the general plan, our scope here is to look at that column for the yellow projects, which are new and have not yet been acted by the Planning Commission in terms of its scope review of conformity with the general plan. So I think
Correct.
that's a useful scope. The other item, which of course is true, and I've reviewed the government code provisions in detail, the role of Planning Commission is not to review the merits or progress or design or costs of any of these projects. It's to simply review conformity to the general plan policies. Is that correct? Okay, so with that, again, I don't have any further questions. I reviewed all the new projects, and I've reviewed the column on general plan policy and goals, and when we get to a discussion, we can discuss those. Commissioner Covell, did you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, those weren't my questions, so I will say that I reviewed the staff report, the resolution, and the appendix, is it Appendix A? What is it called? Exhibit A, knowing that the one that was on budgets was not really in our purview. My clarification questions is, I think, based on the resolution and the staff report, but I'll start with the resolution. It states in the recitals in B, the City Council of the City of St. Helena has designated the City Planning Commission as a planning agency of the City of St. Helena. C says state law requires that designated planning agencies review their agency's capital improvement program to ensure compliance with the general plan, adopted general plan. So here I had asked clarification questions of what does the role and responsibilities of the planning agency. It says also ensure compliance. I had asked a clarification on what that means. Also, it says, let's see, and general conformity. I think there's a consistency in the staff report. I was trying to understand what is the definition of consistency. Is there a level of what dictates consistency? As I met with Director Mikhail, and I don't know all the titles that you have, Joe. Yes. All of those titles that you are, Joe Leach. I tried to understand really what the specific role of the planning commissioner has in reviewing this, and it was stated, my understanding is that it was stated that the role of the planning commissioner is to really review the CIP projects and whether or not those policies and goals in that other column next to it applies to that one CIP, which is very narrowed scope, in which case I had asked them to address the resolution because when I read the general plan and I actually looked through, I did the more broader scope of what I thought that role was based off of the staff report and the resolutions in more of a whatever 10,000 square feet up in the air kind of review of the general plan. And as stewards of I have the planning commissioner handbook here and the general plan. There are discussions about CIP being the way that the city can facilitate these policies, and there is a prioritization. I'll say it says the following, and this is in policies and implementation actions. This is in particularly the public facilities and services. It states the following policies and actions mandate, encourage, and allow certain initiatives to be pursued throughout the duration of the general plan. Together, they serve as strategic directions for city staff and partners, highlighting where time and resources should be focused. And that the general plan identifies water, wastewater, storm drainage, and other essential public facilities as core community infrastructure. Because the CIP is the city's primary implementation tool for the general plan, available resources should be first directed towards projects that protect public health, safety, regulatory compliance, water security, and infrastructural reliability before lower priority discretionary improvements. So my conversation was really trying to understand what the role is, and my understanding from the directors here that it is very limited, but that's not what the recital or the staff report states. And so my clarification was to ask them about how to review this with that narrow lens, and if that needs to be updated in the staff report and or recital, and that the prioritization of projects aren't really clear in this matrix. That, you know, it shows all of the projects, new, old, done, and how they link to the general plan as far as policies go, but that that there is no prioritization, and there are parts of the general plan here that talk about timeliness, timely manner, especially in water, security, and things like that. So my clarification was seeking that, and that's what I want to bring forth. So,
Other questions or clarifications? I have a suggestion on Commissioner Covell's suggestion, but staff may want to have it. We have very common advice from our city attorney as to what the general plan requires or sets as policies and goals for the city, and how the different city agencies need to review conformity, quote unquote, with the general plan. I think it would be useful, per Commissioner Covell's suggestion, that the staff, if we authorize and approve this as in conformity, go and be sure our city attorney is reviewed to be sure that the column general plan and policy and goals, as well as the resolution, appropriately applies whatever the legal standard is for the definition of conformity. I happen to know that the previous advice from the city attorney is not as specific as Commissioner Covell suggests, but I also appreciate that this is a question she has, and I would, when we get to the discussion, I would recommend that if we approve this subject to the city attorney reviewing the definition and compliance with, or the conformity standard that's the legal standard.
it also says ensure compliance, so that, you know, conformity and that the planning agency ensures compliance with.
Voting, sorry.
This is item C under the resolution, state law requires that designated planning agencies review their agency's capital improvement program to ensure compliance with the adopted general plan. But it doesn't say general plan policies. It just, I mean, because earlier you stated.
Through the chair, if I
Sure,
may
go ahead,
add
because I
some
reviewed the
suggested
statute. The
language.
statute, I don't think uses the word compliance, but why don't we
doesn't,
defer
no,
to
and
the
I
statute?
I have the statute here, so for
Sure, thank you.
clarification purposes, the statute describes it as, and these terms can be used interchangeably, so there's not a right or a wrong, but just for consistency with the statute, it does use the word consistency. So I think for all intents and purposes, we can, the Planning Commission can clarify through its motion and direction that the language be consistency. And then I think we're hearing also that there's a request for our city attorney to look at the actual applicable policies that are addressed here.
Yeah, and I just, what I'm referencing actually here, because I'm sure Commissioner Covell's need to be sure that we are defining what the legal requirements are for conformity or consistency, and I'm familiar with the city attorney's advice on that, but let's be very precise, and as part of the resolution, let's use the terms in the statute, and then let's also ask our city attorney, if we approve this, to review it to be sure that we're applying the right legal standard. And again, I've reviewed every item here in yellow under the general plan policy and goals, and my view is, my opinion is that this is consistent with the general plan, but let's have our city attorney take a look at it. Would that help, Commissioner Covell?
No, not to me.
Well, are you asking us not to approve this item?
I'm not asking that. I think it's up to you if you want to approve it.
Maybe should we get to any further questions or comments, and then we can move toward discussion of the actual resolution. Would that be useful? Any other comments from commissioners? If not, why don't we close the public hearing? Oh, no, let's, yeah, there's no one here for the public hearing, I assume, on the CIP, or is there anyone? We're opening public hearing on the CIP item resolution. Seeing no member of the public wanting to comment, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back for discussion by the commission, and would open it up for any further discussion and also for a motion one way or another. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion that we approve the CIP.
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Okay, now open for discussion of the motion. Any discussion of the motion?
I will put a different motion.
Well, first we have to dispose of this motion. There is a first motion, and your second motion, I think, would not be in order until we dispose of the first motion.
Through the chair,
Yes.
there could be a request for a friendly amendment to the motion, just as a matter
Yeah,
of
that might be
procedure.
more suitable. Would you like to, again, if the motion is just for approval of the CIP resolution, would you like to amend that approval?
I would like to amend the resolution document and what we would be signing our names to as what we did, which is not clear.
How would you propose to amend the resolution directly? What specific language would you add or subtract?
I would remove, I would clarify what role that you specifically asked us to do, which is to check whether or not that column in the matrix, general plan, policy, and goals, specifically that column linked to the descriptions of the CIP, the listed items, but not to include that it is in general conformance or ensure compliance or general or consistency until those terms are deemed clarified.
Okay, is there a second for your motion to amend the motion?
So the motion maker has to accept the friendly amendment, and then it would be seconded.
No, I'm not
Really?
accepting the friendly amendment, so, but certainly if we could have a vote. I think under the rules of order, there can be a vote on the friendly amendment or a separate motion after disposition of my motion.
There
or of the
can. I
motion.
think the motion maker was Commissioner Anderson. Was that
Right.
right?
Correct.
So do you accept the friendly amendment? I'm not sure we know what it is.
I don't believe it's necessary.
Okay,
This is my 7th time doing this, and we've had no issues with it in the past.
okay, so there's no acceptance of the friendly amendment. I think that means we move on to consideration or further discussion on Commissioner Anderson's motion for approval. Any further discussion?
I just want to clarify that the issue I have is with the unclear role and responsibilities and the language. If the task is specifically just looking at the capital improvement projects listed and whether or not they tag to a specific policy, that would be a narrow review of the general plan and the staff report, and I would be fine with okaying that narrow view. I am not okay with the way that is presented in the recital, which is a general consistency with the whole general plan as a planning agency. There's no clear role of what the planning agency's roles and responsibilities are, and or definition of ensure compliance so those things to me would require clarity in order for me to put my name behind it. So as it is stated, I would not be okay with putting my name
Okay,
on it.
any further discussion before we go to a vote?
I just want to say, I mean, I wish I could, I would try to be as open-minded, but it's just asking if it's meshing with the general plan. I just don't see where these items, we're just seeing if they mesh, and then the budget and all that takes effect differently. That's the only reason I don't see any problem with it. So.
So when I look at the matrix that's presented, it's listed without any sort of prioritization. The general plan does talk about projects being essential projects, essential services, critical items, and some of these items are fairly critical. And it actually states in this one chapter regarding here on the public facilities and services, which is listed in many of these items, the PF1, where it says PF1H, ensure that water rates are designed to promote conservation as well as to ensure that needed capital improvements are made in a timely manner. This is one of the policies. I don't see how this matrix is showing timeliness and prioritization of essential services and the maintaining quality of life of residents and ensuring public health and safety in those broad terms, which is why this document here, it says broadly that our city planning commission is designated a planning agency for the city of St. Helena. There's no clear role and responsibility for the planning agency, and I cannot say that this is ensuring compliance with the adopted general plan. I can say limitedly, narrowly, that again, these policies can link to those. However, as the staff report and resolution states, I cannot say that it generally is conforming.
I disagree, because we do have numerous elements of the general plan and the safety element and the water rates and the water safety and the CIP that are supported by each of these policies and goals that are listed here for the new project. So I just fundamentally disagree. I'd like to move toward at least a vote on Commissioner Anderson's motion for approval. Okay, shall we call the roll?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Covell,
No.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Warner.
Yes,
The motion passes 3-1.
thank you. Moving on, our next item is Spotswood Winery. Who will be presenting for that?
Thank you, Chair and Planning Commission. Lisa Mikhail, Director of Community Development. We have with us today Senior Planner Jackie O'Neill. And as we're waiting, we're going to pull up the PowerPoint presentation, I believe. There it comes. And she can go ahead and introduce the project.
Thank you, Director Mikhail, and thank you, Commissioners. So the item before you tonight is a conditional use permit amendment for Spotswood Winery, located at 1902 Madrona Avenue.
Is it working?
I'll let our clerk advance the slides. Oh, there we go. So as I stated, this is located at 1902 Madrona Avenue. This is in the Agricultural General Plan Land Use Designation, in the Winery Zoning District, and also in the Historic Preservation Overlay District. Here is an aerial. You can see the subject site is in purple. However, to the south of it, just across from Madrona Avenue, you can see the vineyards, and also the parcel next to that is another parcel that's under common ownership and also part of the greater Spotswood estate. To the left here is one of the historic buildings that is located at 1902 Madrona Avenue. It's a historic winery currently used as a barrel cellar. The project request before you this evening is quite straightforward. The applicant is requested to expand visitation to include Saturdays and Sundays, to increase their total visitors per week from 60 to 120, to limit maximum daily visitation to 20 guests, and there are no changes to production, staffing, building area, site circulation, landscaping, or other physical site improvements. The property history here, I had a really enjoyable time learning about this special piece of history in St. Helena. This is a historic winery estate that dates to the late 1800s. The current winery operations were authorized in 1990, but this site has been a winery for over 100 years, with the exception of the Prohibition times, where I learned that they were still producing grapes for sacrament wine, which became popular. The winery underwent a major expansion completed in 1999, and their existing use permit was amended in 2012, which increased their visitation slightly, which initially was limited to 20 visitors, and it went up to the 60 visitors that you have today. On the site, you have historic resources. I took some of these photos from the Spotswood Winery webpage. On 1902 Madrona Avenue, there's the sandstone cellar and farmhouse. And then on 1401 Hudson, there's the Queen Anne residence and gardens, which are all part of the greater Spotswood estate. So just to summarize, the existing operations limit visitation 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, with a maximum of 60 visitors. There's no daily visitor limit, and visitations are 9 to 5 by appointment only. There's no increase to the existing operations, no increase to the existing production, no physical changes to the site development. The applicant has proposed maximum 120 visitors per week, and they have opted to limit that to a maximum of 20 visitors per day to ensure that they can adequately park and circulate guests that would arrive. And they're requesting that they could have visitation 7 days a week, including on Saturday and Sunday. The analysis is that this is consistent with the Agricultural General Plan designation, as well as the winery zoning regulations. There are no impacts to the historic resources on the site, and it would not be materially detrimental to health, safety, or welfare of the general public. The use is compatible with the surrounding area, which is largely agricultural, and also some residential to the east of the site. And the existing parking and access are adequate. This is Class 1 exempt under CEQA for existing facilities. Staff did identify one small typo in the resolution, so I am proposing a small amendment to strike the word sign and insert conditional use amendment. This is right before the signatures. And the recommendation before you tonight is to determine that the project is categorically exempt and to adopt the resolution as amended, approving the conditional use permit amendment request for Spotswood Winery. I do believe that the property owner is present if you have any questions for staff or the
Yeah,
applicant.
I have just two clarification questions.
Yes.
Is this legally required as a cup that must be approved by the Planning Commission as opposed to being delegated to staff for administrative approval?
Under the current zoning code regulations, it is.
Because I think that's, again, it seems to me that if it's simply a visitor expansion, that's something we might talk about later outside of this agenda item. But if it's required, you know the code section's required that this be approved under?
If you give me 1 moment, I could tell you.
No, later would be fine.
Okay.
It's not. Secondly, we've had no comments from neighbors or anyone else.
No, sir. Staff has not received any
Okay. All right.
any correspondence to date.
Thank you. Any other clarification questions?
Through the chair, just add, so Director Mikhail, we have already noted the process, and it's part of our clarification
Yep.
in our miscellaneous codes.
Very good. Thank you. Any other clarification questions for staff? Seeing none, we'll open up for public comment, if any. The applicant would like to comment, fine. If not, you don't have to.
I think Jackie did a great job.
Why don't you make sure you identify yourself? I know who you are, but
I'm Beth Novak from Spotswood Winery. My family owns the property and has owned it since 1972.
very good. Thank you, Ms. Novak. I should disclose before we discuss the merits that I have tasted wine and visited the Spotswood Winery several times. I'm not within 500 feet, so it's not a direct conflict, but I am very biased toward the wine. I don't think that precludes me
It's
from
good
acting
wine.
on this.
I'm not
but-
the winemaker, but it is delicious.
And the property is, again, something personally, not for purposes of this, that I think is one of the jewels of St. Helena. So that's all I have on it. Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I'm hoping that you're going from 5 to 7 days, that you're not working all those hours.
That's
Is
very
it going to
nice
be
of you
like
to say.
with the
I have probably worked 7 days a week for most of my life since I started working with my mom at Spotswood in 1987. But no, I will not be. I will certainly stop it and say hello to groups I need to, but I will not be planning to work 7 days a week. But you're very nice to ask that. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions for the applicant?
I just want to disclose that I have also visited. I don't know if that's something that we have to do, or
No,
that's
it's just
a
useful
joke,
for
or-
the
okay.
record to understand that.
For
And I didn't
record,
even know that you visited, so there's no conflict of interest, but I thank you for being there.
okay. And I also have friends that work there, so I would like to just disclose of that, being a planning commissioner. But I'm here with an open mind, and I can make a decision on this impartially of all those disclosures.
Very good. Any other questions for the applicant? If not, we can close the public hearing and bring it back for discussion by the commission. Any further discussion by the commission? If not, I would entertain a motion.
It's on the screen if helpful.
I motion to adopt the recommendation to, determine the project is categorical exempt from CEQA pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, section 15301, class 1, existing facilities, and to adopt the resolution as amended, approving the conditional use permit amendment, PL 26002 for Spotswood Winery, subject to the findings, conditional approval, and revisions identified by staff during the presentation.
I second it.
Any further discussion? If not, could you call the roll?
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Cavell,
Yes.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Chair Warner.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we move on to scheduled items. I don't think we have any scheduled items, but we have reports by staff and subcommittee. And under 7.1, we have the item of future zoning ordinance amendments, summary and work plan. We've all received written materials. Staff, would you like to report and discuss that with us?
Yes, so Lisa Mikhail, Director of Community Development. Again, we have with us Senior Planner Jackie O'Neill, and she'll go over a highlight of what our focused ordinance amendments are that are upcoming and forthcoming to the Planning Commission, and as part of our goals for this year in our work plan. There are some miscellaneous amendments that we're looking at as well that are higher priority and easier to achieve. That doesn't mean that a more comprehensive look or additional review of our ordinance isn't in line. It will happen, but we'll be taking them in phases. So this is phase one of those miscellaneous code amendments, and it's an overview. It's not a comprehensive look of that phase one. With that, I'll go ahead and hand it over to Mrs. O'Neill, and we'll move this forward.
Thank you, Director Mikhail. So moving right along, the purpose of this item is to follow up on the December 2025 study session that was held before this body, to provide an overview of anticipated priority zoning ordinance amendments, and to present a tentative staff schedule and staff work plan, and to receive the Commission's and the public's feedback on that tentative schedule and staff work plan. As Director Mikhail mentioned, we are currently working on active and high priority zoning ordinance amendments this year. Anticipated in June, we have the accessory dwelling unit update. That will be a follow-up from our study session that was held last month. In July, we intend to bring forward a short-term rental ordinance amendment. And in the summer and fall, we're looking at bringing forward that first miscellaneous code cleanup. The intention for that one is to look at clarifying approval authority procedures, which you mentioned during the prior item, Chair Warner, to correct inconsistencies related to permit terms, expiration, and approval languages. We're looking at amending the industrial zoning regulations to allow limited accessory uses and clarify other permitting requirements. We're also looking at use clarifications in the PQP zoning districts, revising parking and access definitions for internal consistency, establishing and clarifying right to farm provisions. This is in coordination with the police department, and evaluating standards related to habitation and vehicles, which is also in coordination with the police department, as well as other additional miscellaneous code amendments that staff may address in the initial round of code cleanup. And following that, we'll be bringing the sign ordinance forward in the winter. That would be inclusive of some direction that was received by a city council, but the intention is to look at the sign ordinance as a whole. In addition to this, there are other high priority items that staff continues to evaluate, including technical updates related to zoning administration and permitting procedures. Many of the items that were brought forward in the 2025 study session will ultimately be consolidated into future bundled amendments. The idea is to try to look at things that make sense to bring forward in batches so that we can be efficient with our time before this body and before the public. And I'm available to answer any questions that may have arisen in the staff report. Thank you.
I have a couple questions, just in terms of the follow-up to our December meeting, more of a clarification. We had quite a few comments in our December meeting with various references to various updates for consideration in the zoning code, including by members of the public. I don't see members of the public here. Well, I see a member of the public here, but I don't see members of the public that commented at the December meeting. I'd like to suggest that what we've done here tonight be transmitted, not just noticed as an agenda item, to the commenters at our December meeting, so they're aware of the schedule. And in that regard, this is more of a clarification we can discuss with my fellow commissioners. I think it's also important to compare this list to the list of comments for updates to the zoning code that were presented by the public. We had a couple of lists. We had a list that the commission was considering before this December meeting. We had specific comments by the public at the December meeting, and we ourselves have had some comments since the December meeting. I want to just be sure that those are aligned with what the public may view as a priority, recognizing that staff has limited resources. I think they are, but I'd like to be sure that, again, we all have our individual personal comments we've made, but I think also, most importantly, the public has made comments on what needs to be updated or considered. And I just want to be sure that you take this list back, look at what the public has raised, and come back with why are these the priority versus what the public has provided.
So through the chair, I can go ahead and respond.
Sure.
Staff definitely has not only considered and logged what the comments were that were taken in by both the commission as well as the public. We have a list, and that list is growing exponentially every day. I've noted this in some of our correspondence with each other. You can imagine every other week staff's finding something that needs to be amended in this current zoning ordinance, as well as the public comes forward with projects that we're looking at. There might be a lack of clarity or a need for additional clarity, and so depending on the number of those types of projects that are coming forward, that might move the priority up. Or if state legislation has changed and our code is out of date, that's going to move that priority level up. And staff can only achieve so much of it in one take. And so there's going to be more than one bite at this apple. And so this is the phase one of what we can achieve. And as Ms. O'Neill noted, some of this is legislative, some of it is response to legislation, some of it is in response to our city council, some of it is in response to recent applications that we've processed that have come before the commission, where we've had to grapple with how to implement what the code is, or it's complicated and we're trying to streamline it. And so we're not doing an exact line-by-line analysis of what each public member said and what moves up and down in priority, because that's a dynamic process, but we are able to bring things forward in batches.
Sorry, we are limited in resources, but I do recognize that we all were here for December, and we all have been here for other members of the public. And I'd like to be sure, I know there's certain things that members of the public have raised who may view their concerns as having a priority. And I know you make some judgment calls on what is a priority from the staffs. I just think we need to compare the two and have an opportunity for the public, if they want to come in and say, well, okay, we want to move this one up in schedule versus the others, or vice versa. So I don't think we'll need to resolve that tonight. This is more comments for your consideration, but we do have very active applicants who work in this field in St. Helena who have raised particular items that they'd like to see addressed in their comments. And if they're not on this list, I think we should make sure we communicate with them and see what they think. It's just more of a, I'm surprised we don't have any public comments on the list tonight. It is June, it is hot. But I'll open it up for other comments and questions from my fellow commissioners.
I just want to take a
Sure.
moment and address, I agree with you and I hear you, and I think staff can go ahead and reach out to any of the applicants who maybe noted that they had a priority and they're not in this round. We can go ahead and proactively do that. I don't think it's necessary to have to come back to this body to process
No.
that. We can do that on our part, and we do have the capacity to be able to
Yeah.
have that conversation.
That's
with the
fine.
public.
I don't want to bog down the staff. And again, this list looks to me like a good list. I just want to be sure if there are things that move up in priority from the public's perception and the practitioner's perception, that that's considered. Other comments, questions from fellow commissioners?
Yeah, I would agree with that thought, because after knowing the community, it's like putting out the bigger fires, yeah. Just to get a sense that we don't, I'm going to say this, the small portion of community that is discontent or distrustful need to be, or that need maybe more transparency or something, that we maybe move up a few items that if it's looked at logically to address them, just so we don't have to deal with it in meetings as we go through and process other things. I think that's correct view, because out of the year and a half I've been here, I could see that someone said, well, they're avoiding the question or something, and it's not that. It's just there's a lot of important stuff to deal with, and just that we tackle a few of them, mix them in there. Maybe not all of them, because obviously that's not right either.
Other comments from commissioners?
Thank you for this presentation. I appreciate the urgency you guys are putting to some of these items. I would say that as you're looking at these items, what would be interesting, I'm just staring at the bullet points of the stuff that you have in your chart on the staff report. If as you create this matrix, it would be interesting to categorize these items to learn, like if it's a new state law, this is why we're changing it, or if it's, this is miscellaneous error from the, typo, or, and then, or if it was in the original 2020, in the original zoning code, and now we're just trying to revert back, or what it, categorize to understand these bullet points a little bit better, so that we can learn from this process a little bit and see how many were like state law versus how many are, just typos, or, things like that. Just, it would help clarify this matrix a little bit and break it up.
Great suggestion. We can do that.
Other comments or discussion? With that in mind, does staff?
And one more, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I see not on this one yet, looking at the inclusionary housing section of the zoning code, and particularly the owner sale, like owner zoning code section, and tried to see how that is worded. That's one I would just bring up.
Other direction? Does staff have enough direction on this item?
We do, and just for clarification, it's a receive report, and certainly if any commissioners have high priority items that, you think maybe we're missing, let us know. I can't make promises that it'll be in this phase one, or you have other residents that you've heard from, let us know. One thing I would let the commission know, if it's not state law or city council direction, something that we look at is our patterns. So is there a pattern of the same question coming up? Is a pattern of, why do we always have to sit down and evaluate what exactly we're supposed to do with this same question? Those are items to me that are deserving of being addressed, provided they don't require some larger analysis behind them. So sometimes, like, inclusionary housing is a great example of something that could be addressed and improved or altered. It might require other analyses behind them and might be something we take separately. That's just an example. But again, if you hear of things from those that you speak to out in the community, maybe they haven't come forward to us, that's a pattern, let us know. We're in this process right now for those high priorities.
Very good. Any other comments on this item? If not, thank you for the matrix and the work being done on this, and we'll look forward to more coming in the schedule in the future. The next item is agenda forecast and commission requests. We have agenda forecast on here. I have an agenda request that I want to add on for a longer term, but any questions about the future agenda items for June 16th through July 7th, and any other items from the staff?
If I may, I just want to make sure that we'll have a quorum for July 7th. So just sometimes people go out of town. So if so, we can move items to the following meeting in July, but staff brought that up to me, and I thought that was a good idea to make sure that we know whether or not there's going to be a quorum for the July 7th meeting. If not, we would cancel it and move the items to the following meeting in July.
And I think I've mentioned I'll be out on June 16th, so you'll need to verify a quorum. Vice Chair Furtick will chair on June 16th. Any other vacation schedules to let anybody know about?
Let everyone, go ahead.
I'll be out on the 16th as well.
Okay. So we'll have Chair out and Anderson on the 16th.
So
And
you'll need to double check that we'll have a quorum.
yes,
Among the
we
three of
we
us.
might check right now to make sure that, is there a quorum for the 16th with Covell and Lopez? Okay. June 16th is the first one we'll address. Are you here for the 16th?
I am here
Okay.
for June 16th. I should be here July 7th. The one thing that I'll say is that my husband has to fly to Florida. Sometimes it's just very random because of his dad. So I cannot guarantee
Okay.
every day.
So,
July
it
7th.
sounds like we'll follow up for the 16th with,
Vice Chair Furtick.
thank you. And for the 7th, if I might, I'll just kind of go down this line. Anderson's a yes,
I'll be here on the 7th.
you're a maybe, just
I'm
in
here
case.
right now yeah.
And Lopez? Okay, so we're good for the 7th, so we'll keep that on the docket. And I have nothing else.
I have a future agenda item, not near term, but something that I've shared with individually with staff, but I want to share with my fellow commissioners. I've done an analysis of our entire zoning code on the following criteria. What standards in the zoning code are objective? Which ones are subjective in the sense that they require, as I think Commissioner McKyle, or Director McKyle mentioned, require discretion based on judgment by staff, and which of those particular objective versus subjective standards might be ones that we've heard from the community or from practitioners that need to be more objective or more subject to predictability in terms of how practitioners, applicants, other members of the community comply with them. And I'd like to, longer term, and again, this gets back to the zoning code update discussions we've had, as well as comments from the community, I'd like to have staff take a look at the analysis, really along the categorization of what are subjective standards that are subject to judgment or discretion on the part of staff, and what are objective standards that are pretty straightforward, your numerical standards that basically say you must do this. I do think there's a difference between the envelope of a building in terms of the standards for that, which I think sometimes may, even if objective, may be a little bit over prescriptive. That's just my personal opinion. But particularly the standards outside the building and inside the building that are more subjective, I think it'd be good to have an evaluation, because I think we've had a number of members of the public, practitioners, et cetera, who basically say, hey, here's something that's subject to the discretion of the staff. We really don't know how to comply. We think the staff's discretion is being applied arbitrarily or based on judgment. Why can't we have this be more objective? So I'll just leave it at that. At some future date, we can set and work with staff. I think it'd be useful to have a work session to go through that analysis. And then the commission itself and the staff can decide, is there something we need to do more holistically that defines what should be an objective standard and what should be a subjective standard. Now, part of this comes from learning, as the community has learned, is that the state generally requires for housing that standards now be objective. Well, a lot of the zoning code is still subjective. And it may be useful to analyze that because at some time in the future, somebody may come before the commission with a application and basically say, hey, commission, or before the staff, hey, staff, you're applying a zoning code element that's arbitrarily subjective. And then we would have to respond to that more reacting. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I really appreciate staff's input on that because we do not want to overburden staff with something that's more holistic. But I do think it's useful to do because we have a zoning code update obligation, which I think should cover the entire zoning code. That's all. Any comments or thoughts, any further follow-up?
And to build off of your objectivity comment, I would say that then I would also ask maybe perhaps in a future agenda item to be, have the objective measures for understanding what the word consistency is, compliance, what the planning agency roles and responsibilities are, and what just more objective understanding of roles and responsibilities, so that then we can do our roles objectively.
I think that would be useful because that's a city attorney thing because it's really a legal standard, and we've heard from the city attorney several times, but not as holistically on these items. So I think that'd be good to include in that agenda as well. That's all I had. Anything else for agenda forecasting or from the staff? Or
Just before an adjournment, I'd like to make a separate announcement outside of this item.
please do.
Okay. I would like to announce to the Planning Commission that Ms. Xenia, who's been working with our Planning Commission for a very long time, and has been very special to the city, has chosen to move on to New Horizons. And we're going to miss her quite a big deal here in our department and in the city. She also went to high school here. I don't know if anybody knows that, but she went to high school here in this building, and she shared that with us. But I want to hand it over to her if she'd like to have any closing comments to you all.
Yeah. Thank you, Director McHale. I would just like to say thank you. It's been a pleasure working with all of you throughout the years, and it's been a pleasure working with my colleagues here and with the city and serving my community for the past 10.5 years here. It's been a long journey. I've learned a lot. I've grown. I went to high school here, so I'm very familiar with the town, but I've learned to really embrace it and grow with it even more. It is going to be a bittersweet goodbye, but as I said, I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to move on to something else now, but I will always cherish the memories that I've made here and all the lessons that I've learned. And I just want to thank all of you for being patient with me and understanding, and I'm excited to see what life has in store for me, and just thank you again, all of you. So. Thanks, Xenia. We're gonna miss you. Or at least I'm going to miss you.
I too, and as a lawyer, I would consider alternatives of bringing a lawsuit to enjoin you from leaving, but I know that's not possible. That said, we really appreciate everything you've done for the city. If you'd like, after the meeting, we could have the commissioners, I don't think it violates agenda, have you pose with the commissioners and have a photograph, if that would be useful for you.
Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you
for the
for-
memories,
Yes.
of course. Yes.
Thank you for all you've done. Any other comments or thoughts?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you for all the help and encouragement throughout my process, and it was always nice to see you always fresh and present to each meeting, regardless of if it was going to be a long one or short one. But I appreciate you, and I'm sure you're going to go out there and really do well in whatever your endeavors are for the future.
You guys are gonna make me cry. I was not ready for this.
Xenia, I'm sad that you're leaving, but I'm glad that you are excited about this next chapter. I've known you for quite a long time now, before baby. when we got a dog, I'd come and talk to you. And so it's been really great. And you've done a huge service to this town working in your in the role that you have served. And from, you know, that spot with the Magnolia, the former City Hall, to the other City Hall building, and then now this. I mean, I've seen you grow so much, and I just appreciate how cordial you are, and yeah, you're gonna be missed. So, but good luck to you in your new chapter.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of your thoughtful comments. I really do. And I'll take those with me where I go. So.
With that, I am going to adjourn in celebration, honor of you, Zinnia, if that's appropriate. We're adjourned. Thank you. Let's pause for a picture if we can. Anybody have a camera to use here?